In 1945, humanity entered the atomic age, and something out there took notice. Since the first mushroom cloud, unidentified craft have appeared over military sites, disarming missiles, shadowing warplanes, and watching, always watching. For decades, governments denied it. But as tensions rise and the world teeters on the brink, the sightings increase. And when nuclear fire returns to the battlefield, will they finally reveal themselves? Are we on the brink of disclosure?
Mr. Marzulli, your works have shed so much light on these mysterious topics. I bought your Watchers DVDs, 15 years ago, and was fascinated by your content. And you've been talking about UFOs since they were a conspiracy theory, but they're no longer considered that, are they?
Well, Micah, just for the sake of your audience, let me don my tinfoil hat before I even begin. No, I mean, this is when I was talking about this, and this, my mentor, Dr. I.D. Thomas, we're circa 1990. I mean, you're talking like 35 years ago, basically. And I mean, I'm not bragging here, but I was ostracized. I was kicked out of churches. I've had hit pieces written against me, blah, blah, blah. Now Congress is stating openly that UAPs are real and we're being visited, but what are they? And this is the coming great deception. There's no doubt about it in my mind. So, the Lord put me, look, let me back up. 45 years ago, I gave my life to Jesus. I was alone in my room. I was a new ager. I had spirit guides. I was on vision quests. I mean, I did everything. I used to believe in the Space Brothers. I was on the other side of the aisle. And 45 years ago, I gave my life to Jesus. I never would have imagined in a million years I'd be doing what I'm doing now at 75 years old. I'll be 75 this year. So it's like what? I mean, it wasn't. I never thought about making films. I never had a camera. And here we are 30 films later and 14 books. Mm-hmm. This is all the Lord's doing. So if you've got a problem, talk to him, not me.
Yes, sir. And as you're talking about that, I can remember as a young lad, and even in Pensacola Christian College, I'd see Ken Ham come to speak about dinosaurs in front of the congregation, and then, of course, watching you. And here we are many years later. You're still doing it. And now I get the opportunity to talk about dinosaurs and other things. So it's
pretty cool.
Serving the Lord is awesome, for sure. So we're mainly talking today about your newest book, Rungs of Disclosure. And you say that this is the most important book that you have ever written. Why is that?
Well, I would say the reason for that is it really exposes the underbelly of this whole UFO/UAP phenomena. It talks about the first rung, 2017, Commander David Fravor on Tucker Carlson show, where it's a triptych. It's Tucker, Commander David Fravor, and over here, they've got the tic-tac shaped UFO. They've got the gimbal going, and this is huge. And Commander David Fravor, when asked, this thing shot away from him like a bullet out of a gun, 50 miles in 2 seconds. How's that possible? Yeah. The G-forces alone would kill any human being, but they're bending space and time around the craft. That's how that happens. I got that from Bob Lazar. But the last part of that interview, which only lasts 5 minutes, it's on a Friday night when Tucker is still on Fox. And Tucker asks him, in your opinion, what was this? And Commander David Fravor looks right at the camera and says, whatever this was not from this earth. I mean, what do you do with that? Yeah. I mean, what do you do with that? That is one of the most, and this guy is an F-18 pilot. He's the best of the best of the best. And, he's Mr. Stand-up guy. Absolutely no nonsense from this guy. None. And that's what he's saying. That's mind-boggling.
And it's not just the strange craft and the way they're shaped, but it's also the way they move and the idea that human pilots, if a human was inside that thing, they wouldn't be able to survive the angles and stuff that it moves. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's, again, the craft, and I got this from Bob Lazar. So here's the UFO like this. There's no propulsion system that we can see. There's no wings, there's no tail, there's no rotor wash, there's no exhaust from anything. there's a gravity wave. Bob Lazar back engineered this, allegedly, Area 51S4, way back in the 90s. I actually met Bob Lazar way back in the 90s at the Little Alien. And so Bob goes, there's a gravity wave which pulls the craft. It pulls it. And this gravity wave is bending space and time as we know it. Now, I'm just standing on Bob Lazar's shoulders, but that's what I believe is happening. Because this thing's making right angle turns. It would kill a normal human, it would kill anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but because there's no gravity, because there's no space and time as we know it, that's how this thing moves. And that's a technology which is so far beyond anything we have today.
You mentioned the first rung. So what the Rungs of Disclosure is rungs of a ladder. And the Tucker Carlson interview was the first rung. And of course, we're not going to go through all of them. We'll go through as many as you want, but I wrote down a bunch of ones that were interesting to me as I read through them. The next one was rung number 3, how you found metal alloys near Roswell. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I certainly can. We've got 10 films on, let me see, where is it? There it is. We've got 10 films on the whole UFO phenomena. So it's a 10-box set. My business partner and I, Gil Zimmerman, created these. We're the only Christian ministry that has a 10-box set. Close Encounters of the First, Second, Third, and Fourth Kind, crop circles, cattle mutilations, abductions, 2 films on Roswell, and then What is the Truth? People like Nick Pope, George Norrie, and others, Gary Stearman, Mando Gonzalez, come down and talk about the different paradigms. When we were out we have 2 films on Roswell, like I said. So when we were out in the debris field, we show on film, by the way, I'm going to brag here. We are the only film crew on the planet that has ever dug out an implant from a debris field on film.
Hmm.
We're the only, and that's not because we're so great, because he is.
Yeah.
Right there. We had favor. Let me tell you a story before I spill the beans here. A month before we went to Roswell, the scripture that the Lord had me in was Psalm 121. I look to the mountains, where does my help come from? My help comes from you, maker of heaven and on earth. He will not let me fall. My guardian will not fall asleep. Indeed, the guardian of Eli and Marzulli does not rest or fall asleep. The Lord is my guardian. The Lord is the shade over my right hand. The sun will not beat down upon me by day, or the moon by night. The Lord guards me from every evil. The Lord guards my life. The Lord guards me as I come and as I go. That was in my spirit, man. We're there in the Roswell debris field. Okay. It's just unbelievable. It's supposed to be 95 and scorching. It's supposed to be a real scorcher, as they say in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. There was a cloud. There was a cloud. We have it on film. We flew up a drone. There's this huge cloud right over the debris field the whole time we were there. Frank Kimbler, and this is a picture of Frank right there. I'm interviewing Frank.
Yeah.
That's Frank with the hat on. And Frank goes, I've been out here like 20 times. I've never seen the weather better. This is unbelievable. And we're all laughing hysterically because we know what the Lord's doing, right? Mm-hmm. And so we prayed, Gil Zimmerman, my business partner, and I, Jim Peterson, who's our sound guy, second camera, and we're all praying that the Lord would show us what we need to see. All of a sudden, Frank Kimbler, he's got a metal detector. Hey, guys, I think I got a hit. We go running over, the camera's jostling like this. So we had the whole thing on film. And Frank's got a little garden spade like this, and he's digging down, and it's still in the hole. And finally, he realizes that it's out of the hole. Now he's sifting the dirt like this. And finally, after like 3 or 4 sifts, all on camera, it's in his palm of his hand. Mm-hmm. He knows whatever it is that's metal, it's in the palm. So now he opens his palm and he goes, oh my gosh, here it is. And what that here it is, it's this.
That's your third rung on your rungs of disclosure. And I'm going to get off topic for just a minute because
Sure.
I'm reminded of another story that you told of when we're talking about camera crews and going to film. There's one that was profound to me as being a Christian was you were getting ready to go overseas on a filming trip, but the Lord told you to not go. And he told your camera crew not to go. Tell us a little bit about that one.
What I've learned look, I'll be 75 this year, so I'm grandpa. So what I've learned in 45 years Never get ahead of him, never get behind him. Just stay with him, and he can be absolutely trusted. So I had everything lined up to go across the pond. And we had boots on the ground, we had archaeologists, we had storytellers, we had druids, we had museums. I mean, this is like, we had the guy setting it up. I'm paying him to do this. And we're at the Prophecy Watchers Conference, and we're interviewing actually two people on the Shroud of Turin. And Lord gets me up like he does every night. And this started about 3 years ago, by the way. Before that, it never happened. Now he gets me up every night. And I get up and I do what I'm supposed to do. But he gets me up and he goes, I didn't tell you to go over there. What are you doing? It's like, sorry. And so, I go, wow, what am I going to do? So I go down, there's my business partner, Gil, Jim Peterson. I go, guys, I got something to tell you. We're not going over or across the pond. We're not going overseas. The Lord told me not to go. He said, he didn't tell us to do this. Gil, my business partner, Gil Zimmerman, goes, oh my gosh, I've been wanting to bridge this with you, bridge this conversation, open up the conversation. I didn't know how to do it. And I didn't know because I know you were so good. And I was like, can't wait to get over there and start filming. It's going to be great. But not what the Lord said to do. And Jim Peterson immediately said, wow, I've total confirmation. So we didn't go. And we were supposed to go to another place in March. And I woke up from a sound sleep. The Lord woke me up around 2 a.m. and I'm getting all these like mental pictures, not visions, but mental pictures. And I'm kind of going, whoa, this is interesting. The very next day, my wife was cleaning the windows on our big doors, and she pops her head and she goes, oh my gosh, the Lord just told me you're not supposed to go there. I go, okay, I got it. That's confirmation. So I called up the gentleman who we were supposed to meet. He was very taken aback, and I know crestfallen because he really wanted us to come and do this. Lord said, don't go. So right now, the Lord has redirected my steps. I'm writing my first novel in like, I don't know, almost 15 years anyway, right? And it's like he gave me the download on the way to dinner about a month and a half ago. And I'm already got 4 chapters written, working on chapter 5, and hopefully it'll be out this year. That's what I'm supposed to do right now. Yeah. Meanwhile, we're working on the Shroud of Turin Holy Fire film. In other words, what he's trying to do is, LA, you've got all this backlog of material, and you've got to finish what I've given you here before I give you something else. That's what he's doing. So we need to finish Holy Shroud, Holy Fire. We're in post-production. We're close. Be out in March. And then we go right into On the Trail of a Nephilim #9, which we've got all this film, incredible interviews, incredible information, and that's going to blow people away.
We're talking with L.A. Marzulli. You can get the DVDs he showed you, a lot of his stuff at lamarzulli.net. But the book we're talking about, Rungs of Disclosure, is at rungsofdisclosure.com. L.A.'s got it there. So make sure you go to visit his sites, lamarzulli.net or rungsofdisclosure.com. So L.A., the fourth rung, talks about some interesting stuff. Does the Pentagon have vehicles that were not made on Earth?
Why are we even talking about this? Right? Why is it there? Vehicle and look, the one of the whistleblowers, David Grush, in the halls of Congress, basically stated as much. There's a whole retrieval program. I mean, I've got people come up to me at conferences. They tell me things they've never told anybody else. My grandfather was at Roswell. My grandmother was at Roswell. My father was part of a very secret team that went to a crash site, and there were the bodies in the craft. They saw them. They moved the craft from one location to another. Do we have back engineered craft? Absolutely. Bob Lazar talks about this in the 90s. So they're just, they're kind of dribbling it out. It makes you wonder, why now? And I have conjecture on that, but it ain't going away, folks. This is the coming great deception. It's not going away.
And of course, we're just getting ready to see the tip of it, not just the UAP hearings in Congress. We've also got now the, House Oversight Committee is now going to reveal secrets, including extraterrestrial life that was announced last week. And so it's an exciting time to be alive, that's for sure.
No, it is. Anna Paulina Luna stood up a couple of days ago, and I did a whole report on this. And she goes, we're going to talk about JFK, RFK, Martin Luther King assassination. We're going to be talking about UAPs. We're talking about the COVID shots. We're talking about Epstein. So it's like, then she drops the bomb. And she goes, I've seen some of the information on the JFK shooting. There were 2 shooters. It's like, what? It's just like, excuse me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known that forever. I'm a student of the JFK assassination. There were probably 3 shooters. One from the Records Building, which is right next to the Dow Tech. The other one from the Grassy Knoll, that's the headshot. And the other one from a triple overpass. That's why the windshield is broken. There's a hole in it. And that's why he goes like this, coming from a Stemmons freeway sign. He goes like he's been shot in the throat right here. That's where it got him. And that's why they didn't do anything with it. They didn't follow it. Normally they would have, but he's laying in the hospital and his brains are dripping out on the floor. I mean, this is like, this wound here is secondary to the headshot. I mean, it blew the back of his skull completely out.
Rung 6 in your book, Rungs of Disclosure, is the idea that NASA is preparing priests for alien contact. And that's very interesting to me. In my book over my shoulder here, Secret Societies, I talk a bit about the Catholic Church and the Observatory. So tell us about how NASA is preparing Catholic priests for alien contact.
Well, I mean, this is what about evangelicals? I mean, do we count for anything? I mean, do we? I mean, are we even there? A bunch of Jesuits? Domini. It's like, I grew up Catholic. I left the Catholic Church when I was 13. They are replacement theology all day long. They have no idea of eschatology, of what, the coming of Jesus, the 7-year tribulation, the fact that Israel's been gathered back in the homeland. So, why do they want a bunch of priests? Because the Catholic Church is the largest Christian denomination on the planet. It's like 1.2, 1.3 billion people. It's a lot of people. But, the evangelical community, I think we have the answers. They don't. I've read several books put out by the Catholic Church, because I have to. It's what I do, on the whole UFO, UAP phenomena. We did one of our Watchers series with the late Richard Shaw on that, talking with Chris Putman. He passed away also. About the whole UAP thing. Father Cosmo Gano talking about baptizing an alien. These are not our space brothers. These are interdimensional entities that have a very nefarious agenda. And congressmen and women would do themselves a huge favor by talking to someone like myself or Gary Stearman or others who have been plumbing the depths of the UFO phenomenon for decades. We can tell you exactly who they are, what they're about, how it ties in with biblical prophetic narrative, because the Bible talks about this. Their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them, Daniel 2:43. Whose seed? I got that from Jim Williamson, by the way, seed. It's the same thing that we get back in Genesis. Their seed will mingle, but they will not cleave to them. The word cleave is the same word back in Genesis. A man will leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife. There's a marriage contract in Genesis. Here, no marriage contract. It's exactly what we see with the abduction phenomena. Women are taken, ovum is taken, they're impregnated, men are taken, sperm is taken from the men. It's a breeding program. Why should we be surprised when Daniel 2:43 tells us their seed will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not cleave to them? Who the heck are they? Now, I first heard this years ago from Chuck Missler, back in the 90s, before I had written anything. So that's how far back it goes. That's 30 years ago.
Before we get off this rung, the powers of the air are not just preparing priests, but they're also prepping us and our children through predictive programming.
In that commercial, remember, they've got 1 minute and 30 seconds. They're basically stating, as a filmmaker, they're stating that this is a global event. They've got a diner in Texas or New Mexico. They've got New York City. They've got Paris, France, and then Japan. So they're trying to say that this is a global event. What's a global event? Well, the woman is on her goofy cell phone. Where's my goofy cell phone? Here's cell phone. Did I leave it in the other room? I know. Oh, here it is. The woman's on her cell phone like this. And the headline is basically, Congress declares that UAPs, UFOs are real. Doesn't like that. So she scrolls over and there's something that she likes. The cat is clawing the toilet paper in the bathroom. She laughs. Meanwhile, directly overhead, mile-wide craft flies like this. No one's paying attention. Cuts to a diner in Texas. Woman is looking at why she's stuffing her face, and her husband's across from her, stuffing his face. They're both on their goofy cell phones, of course, and she's reading Celebrity Bacon Diet. Cuts over to Paris, France. All these kids are in front of the Eiffel Tower doing what? They're on their goofy cell phones. Cut to Japan, the same thing. They're all on a tablet cell phone. So the alien with an elongated skull, just like that, by the way, presses a button. Hello down there. All of a sudden, all the screens, you know how when you get an Amber Alert, your phone lights up, everybody in the room, the phone lights up? That's on a global event. And they show the aliens, everybody looks up. Mile-wide craft. Mile-wide craft over the cities of the world. Folks, this is predictive programming. And at the last 3 seconds, you find out a Squarespace. A website makes it real, Squarespace. So you got 1 minute and 30 seconds. Super Bowl. The production quality, Martin Scorsese directed it. The production quality is through the roof. In my opinion, predictive programming all day long. They are signaling what's about to happen, that there's going to be mile-wide craft over the cities of the world. And this is what I'll be talking about at the Prophecy Watchers Conference. I'm probably going to lead off with that commercial, even though I've shown it at PW conferences before, because it's that a lot of people haven't seen it. I need to understand what this is. And the title of the presentation is, how do you create a one world government and a one world religious system? This is the way you do it. Because we are so divided, the planet is so divided religiously. You've got Islam, you've got Christianity, you've got Buddhism, Shintoism, Taoism, Confucianism. I mean, there's no way you're going to assimilate all these diverse religions unless a UFO lands and all these avatars come out of that craft and wave to the crowd. And then they show us who God really is. I'm not making this up, Micah.
Yeah.
Not. This is the coming great deception.
And on this anonymous topic, of course, I have a lot of questions for you. But one thing I don't want to let you go without answering is, you saw your first UFO at 12 years old. Tell us about that.
Well, at 5 years old, I dragged my family Bible out from where it was, and I created a makeshift pulpit with my grandfather's ottoman, my grandfather's hassock, family Bible. I can't read. And I look at my aunts and uncles are all around the Italian dinner on Sunday. The priest is there, everybody, the spaghetti's flowing, the wine's flowing. I mean, the whole thing. It's a big Italian family. Not so much anymore. It's all gone. But my Bible's there. I'm 5 years old. And I look at I can't read, but I preached my first sermon at 5. And the title of that sermon is, What is the Truth? What is the truth? And, hold on. We have a track that we now print. And number 10 in the film series is called, What is the Truth? There it is. What is the truth? And so that's at 5 years old. At 12 years old, I see my first UFO at Boy Scout camp. I know nothing about anything. I'm not a Christian. I'm a Catholic. I'm getting ready to leave the church because I didn't believe it anymore. I thought it was a bunch of nonsense. But at 12 years old, I'm with 4 boys. I'm number 4. We're walking single file up this dry creek bed. I could take you there today. And one of the lead boy goes, wow, what's that? The other 2 boys go, wow, what is that? I go, where? They go, there. They point, and above me, just about like this, a little further back, just about like this, classic silver disc, just sitting in the sky, classic silver disc. And we watch this thing for 15, 20 seconds, and it does this, Micah. Gone. I mean, straight up, blink of an eye gone. So we go running back to scout camp. We saw a flying saucer. We saw a UFO. By the evening meal, the other boys denied that they ever seen anything.
Wow.
Because of the ridicule. I've seen 4 altogether. That's my first one. And I don't go looking for them. Trust me.
Yeah.
It's not something I go looking for. But the Lord allows me to see them for whatever reason when he wants me to look at them, and I, weigh in on them.
Folks, we've been talking with L.A. Marzulli. He will be speaking for the Mysteries of the Bible Verse later this year, June 13th and 14th. Be sure if you can make it to the Mysteries of the Bible Verse in the greater Indianapolis area that you come on out and meet L.A. Marzulli.
In the days of old, giants walked the earth. Scripture tells how David defeated Goliath, how angels served the Creator, and how the serpent deceived God's image bearers. The prophecies foretold of a coming Savior, one that would reach across the veil and set the captives free. Featuring L.A. Marzulli.
It's a suicide mission by the fallen angels.
Derek Gilbert.
UFO true believers, the ancient aliens prophets.
And Micah Van Huss.
So in the story of the giant of Kandahar,
at the Mysteries of the Bible Verse event in Carmel, Indiana,